So welcome to Thursday on the Perspective. I'm your host Yuccas, and this week we have been talking about empathy and self-defense, psychic self-defense, emotional self-defense. So I'm going to go ahead and read the questions for you. They will also be posted below. The first one is, I was curious if a subject can be done on empathy and how it can impact your spiritual, mental, and physical life. Can it be mistaken for illness by other people when really you are just not controlling it or don't know how? The second question is, please make a video on the basics of magic defense in daily life and the basics of mental combat. Thank you. So some of the previous hosts have already started to do a great job on talking about some of the different techniques that you can use, visualization techniques or that sort of thing, to help defend yourself or to be aware of how much you are taking in of other people's emotions, etc. And there's also a lot of resources online for that. And actually in your library and things that you can come up with yourself. So I'm not going to focus on those particular practices. If you are interested in certain visualizations, I do have some guided meditations on my personal channel. You can check those out. But what I want to do in this video is really focus on the groundwork that's going to make those techniques really a possibility, make them something that you're able to do. Sorry, there's a phone ringing. And there's two sides to it, and the lines between these are very blurry, but that's basically the physical side, your body side, your health on a physical level, and that on your emotional level and how aware you are of what's going on around you. So first with the physical it's very important to take care of your body and come from a balanced place, because if you're tired, if you are hungry, if you're sick like I am and a lot of folks are this time of year, it's really hard to be happy or to really have the energy to deal with things, to just be persistent and keep going on the difficult things in life. And sometimes being around people who have very strong emotions, tying into the empathic part, is very difficult, or dealing with folks who are directing hatred or negative emotions or just unpleasantry towards you, even yourself, you doing that to yourself. It can be very difficult if you aren't coming from a balanced place. So it's super important to really take care of your body. That means getting enough sleep, having a healthy sleep cycle, eating foods that make you feel good and strong, getting sunlight if you can't because you live in, you work inside all day, then taking vitamin D, taking multivitamins, making sure that you're getting exercise even if it's just a little bit, meditating, do whatever you need to make your body really strong and balanced and healthy. Without coming from a place of balance, doing magical work is much more difficult. And so the second part is really your the emotional balance, and which is very much connected to your physical balance. You know, those things are so tied together that both of them really strongly affect the others, but also to be very aware of yourself and your own mental patterns. We're always telling stories. that's very common for humans, where we're just repeating things over and over again in our heads and focusing on things and not even really aware that that's what we're doing. And sometimes they can be great things that we're focusing on how great everything is and how happy we are and, oh, that was such a cool show, or I'm gonna work so hard at this. But sometimes it's not really positive. Sometimes we're reliving a really frustrating moment, we're being mad or angry at someone. And that's a really important pattern. Those patterns are really important to be aware of. Is if you're stuck in one of those negative loops, it's everything that happens on the outside can impact you much more strongly. And it's also important to be aware if somebody else, how you're responding to them. Are you responding in such a way that is encouraging whatever behavior it is that you feel that you need defense from, or that you need to combat somehow? Are you, and not in like a accusing way, but if you had siblings when you were little, or maybe you have children yourself, or you've watched your friends, when they tease each other, it's the response that's the part that keeps the teasers teasing the teasee. When the kid goes, oh, that's what feeds it. And so sometimes we need to be aware that we are feeding the interactions and the patterns which we feel that we need defense from. So really one of the best defenses is to not engage in that situation. Sometimes we don't have a choice, or we have very few choices and have to be in those situations. And when we do, then I think that's a time for some of the visualization techniques or the different intention practices or magical practices that we can do. But before even getting there, it's important to come from a balanced place physically and to be aware of our patterns so that we can actually choose or have some influence in how we respond and interact with the world. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know that was a little bit off from the actual question, but I think that it really is important and very relative to it. So have a great week.